Hogwarts and Narnia virtual companies. They never do any drilling. This is where they're stealing the money. They say they're drilling, but they're not. And they say that they're mining. But when you check the assets, these places have been, they're historical pieces of shit where they have just paid £1,000 for the claim, and then they use that to format an exotic named company, and then they pass it between their mates, dissolving it, starting under a different name, and they're taking billions. And this is where George and I came in.
Less of the swear words. You're now on record. I'm taping this so that we can, if anything happens to John downstream of this, then we've got them pinned.
Yeah, I can tell you now, Gordon, the work that's being done at Able Danger backs up everything you've said.
Yeah, well, I hope so.
Well, I know so. I'm in the live chat room Monday, Wednesdays and Fridays.
Yeah.
I see in the live feed, I see stuff from, well, I'll give you an example who one of them is. You must have heard of the late, great Professor Anthony C. Sutton.
Yeah.
Well, he once said, you have to appreciate, when you're in my position, you have to be 100% accurate, 100% of the time. And he went on to say, get it wrong just once, and your enemies will never let you forget it.
I know that. I've been accused.
So now, this is the best part. Now, he must be getting on, but there's a chap in the chat room who helped Anthony C. Sutton with his research and the editing of his books. That's the quality of insiders we have inside our organisation.
Mine is a personal involvement, because if you read the Pandora's Box series, what you will find is that it all started from a basic fraud in South Africa, where the main suspects were national intelligence officers of the South African apartheid military government and their cronies, those that worked in asset stripping Africa on behalf of people like Anglo America and JP Morgan, and asset stripping Angola, Chad, Niger, Sierra Leone, Sri Lanka, all these places that had valuable mineral resources or oil.
So the phone's ringing, 1 second.
Yeah.
Rose, I can't talk to you now, darling. I can't talk to you now.
So can you see the opportunity here, if we can get more and more people trying to take it to law formally?
Of course. Now, I told you, and I backed it.
Sorry about that. That was...
No, it's all right. Listen, I've had a chance to provide information and intelligence and forensic documents to UKIP. Now, because Nigel Farage is an ex-hedge fund trader, that's held me to hold him off at arm's length as to his personal involvement with the bigger system.
I can tell you a story about UKIP, Gordon.
Well, I'm just saying, look, when you challenge a political body, if UKIP is genuine, they will use this information to open up a minefield of corruption, because it's all provable, it's all forensic, and it's all documented.
Now I'm going to tell you, see, this is where I get help from other levels, which we won't go into.
Yeah.
I just happen to live a 15-minute walk from Christine Nathan's house.
That's the MEP.
MEMP for this area. And because don't get me wrong, I was a UKIP member until I found out a few things. Unfortunately, they invited me to their wine and mince pie party just before Christmas. So I went along, I flashed my pass, well out of date. I got right into the face of her husband. I told him all this. There were people within the sound of my voice, and from that situation to now, even with the updates of emails I've sent her, there's been complete and utter silence. So I know all about UKIP.
Yeah.
I was taken in because I want us to get out of this EU, and Nigel seemed to be the only one that was standing up. I mean, he called out Herman Van Rompuy as a quiet assassin, but what Nigel didn't realise is Van Rompuy is a high-level Jesuit.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is...
So there's not going to be any political salvation, but what we're talking about is the police getting abused by private security companies. Their jobs are tumbling like crazy, and they think that Lord Condon is a man to be feared, and they're quite right. So Lord Condon needs to be exposed as a profiteering bastard, and you guys are in a perfect...
Excuse me, you're recording this, George.
Oh, pardon me, yeah, Batard.
It's okay. You know, I have to... It's my anger, trust me, it's my anger and frustration that's kept me going.
And mine.
It's 6 years, six years solidly, since I lost my job, I've been at this 18 hours a day solidly, non-stop.
And it costs you, eh?
You don't have any alternative.
No.
Now, this is what I want to do. When these police or whoever they are come and sit down here, we're going to have this conversation again.
Yeah.
And they can't deny that they don't know.
It would be far better to... It would be far better to have a formal charge list and to let Gordon lead the charge there. If you want to... If you want to pin financial crimes on them, Gordon can pick his top 10 and we can take that forward together. Is that... Would you be editor-in-chief, Gordon?
No, that's fine. It's just that if you've read Pandora's Box series, when I first met, I was introduced to Peter by Bryn Richard Cowley, who is the adopted son of Christopher Cowley of Space Research Corporation, which was involved with Astra Holdings, if you know anything about that sort of history, the arms trade.
That's the Belgian assassination period, you remember?
Yeah, with
so you've referred to Van Rompuy being an assassin. I'm not sure what story that is, John.
Well, the Jesuits, he called him a quiet assassin of nation states.
Alright, I thought you were talking about a specific assassination of...
Well, they tried it in a plane crash with Nigel Farage. Do you remember? He survived. But that was his
I take all of that. You know, those political parties are just plants to fuck up the system. None of them have integrity.
Exactly.
And you know, I think I've explained to you that Farage and Dodi were the two guys in the Lawrence of Arabia film that stuck the stick up the camel's arse. You know, they think the whole thing, stealing from the people, is absolutely hilarious.
I mean, I'm laughing, but
it's the position that the cops are now in, with their jobs tumbling and their insecurity complex. It's the perfect time to get them worried about their own future and working on our side. Now, I reckon how you're going to... Quite clearly the man that you talk to is either a lapsed Mason or somebody that's got a conscience late in life. But it's a perfect opportunity. But you don't know the identity of the two people who are coming to call, or where they are coming from, or when they are coming?
They're coming from Sussex Police. They're going to... I've been told they're coming from Sussex Police. I don't know what department... and until they call me and I question them, I'm not really sure who they are or what department. But the fact is this: we're going to sit down, these two chaps, from the police department, from the serious fraud department, wherever they're from, and they're going to be discussing this with us.
What, do you think they'll comply with that, Gordon? I think they will just point blank refuse, won't they?
His name is John. They can't, George, they can't refuse. Because if they refuse, they can listen. See, this is where I've drawn them into a hut.
Yeah, it's perfect. If you can get, and I was worried about your security, but now that we've made this video...
Listen, down on the coast of the Cape, and they want to speak to me for the information I know.
I've drawn, it's taken me ages to get the cops. I've drawn them into a honey trap. and they're going to sit here, and if they refuse to take part in this conversation, I'll have their names, where they're from, and they will be complicit, and all their friends in the police department are having their jobs taken from G4S are going to want to know why.
You don't forget to take their shoulder numbers, eh?
Oh, don't you? This is all in hand.
So this is perfect, provided they let you log on to Skype. And you can say that, you know, you cannot make the charges without Gordon Bowden's input, because he's a forensic investigator in this region, and he's what is the company that you're helping in Switzerland, Gordon?
There's a company called Alp Services. They contacted me, or their lead investigator contacted me regarding finding out via Pandora's box what I knew about a guy called, he's a Ghanaian, Samuel S. and Jonah, and the fraud companies that he worked. Well, what happened was Arriva Nuclear Fuels purchased a worthless, redundant uranium mine in Namibia, and they paid $2.5 billion for this defunct Sunset mine. And my mining experience overview of that mine and its directors led me to publish in Pandora's box that Uramin was nothing more than a Ponzi scam. Do you get that, John?
Yes.
Yeah. So Uramin sold this plot of dirt to the directors of a public listed company called Arriva Nuclear Fuels in France. And the head honcho at Arriva was a woman called Anne Laveron. And the head honcho of Uramin was a guy called Sir Samuel S. and Jonah. Now, I'd already published via Pandora's box that Uramin was nothing more than a Ponzi scam.
Yep.
This lead investigator of Alp Services contacted me to provide them with details of the corporate breakdown of the directors and their past history of financially collapsing companies and asset stripping them, which I've done a full overview. I gave them that information. Anne Laveron and her husband were removed from the board of directors of Arriva Nuclear Fuels, and Anne Laveron tried to take out a public private prosecution of those investigators for spying on her and her husband in relation to the deal that they did. Now, because it was a public listed company, Alp Services were called in by the good directors who knew something was amiss, why they would pay and have to write down $2.5 billion of a public listed company. And so Alp Services then contacted me. I gave them the information. They have conducted further investigations in Sudan and Chad and Niger, which corroborate the work that I did in Pandora's box. Now, they are going after the other people, the other directors of Uramin, which include the asset strippers, which I have named in Pandora's box. And it can be easily explained. There is not one company out of the 3,000 on the alternative investment market that I cannot look at within the space of 5 minutes and tell you whether it's a Ponzi scam.
And can we include the Lothian Road den in everything that happens with the Chilcot and the Rifkind involvement? Because that's pivotal on the war crimes element of what we're trying to get out to the public.
Yeah, but what you're trying to do is you will flood somebody's mind. It will go over the top of their heads if you try to give them too much information. They will not grasp the magnitude of what you're trying to tell them. Because you've been doing this for 11 or 12, I've been doing this for 13 years.
Yeah.
And trust me, when you talk to people, they cannot believe that our righteous government leaders would stoop to the depth of fraud and theft that they have been conducting for 40 years.
Listen, I was having my hair trimmed yesterday, and the barber, he said to me, he was telling me what a decent chap David Cameron was. And I was gobsmacked. But you know, the average person, they these people tell them. They believe what they see on the BBC. They believe what they read in the newspapers.
Yeah, misinformation is a terrible thing, eh?
But I think when we're talking to them for
misinformation.
I think when we're talking to them for the first time, if we can get them to register a number of accusations and not, you know, Gordon doesn't like it when I talk about my religious conspiracy theories.
Because
and I
once
think
you become labelled as a conspiracy,
yeah, that's right. So I agree with you. I think
into the trap.
We should focus entirely on the financial frauds that are happening at the cabinet level.
Oh.
And you know, the Cairn example is a perfect example of that. It's already in the press. The people are already resigning for shame. And I think that we should have like maybe 2 or 3 cases that we want them to register and introduce into the system. It will be dropped as soon as it possibly can be by the police force. But if we can get this video out, it will be an immense embarrassment to them.
Well, this video is going to go out. It's going to go down in history, and people are finally going to wake up.
No, I meant the one where the police come and listen to Gordon reeling off what's happening in the cabinet office.
I'm hoping that this phone's that they're going to call during this conversation. We might just be lucky.
Yeah.
But
John, do you have you ever done any read up on the Carroll Foundation Trust? Do you know? Okay, I'm going to just tell you to look at this. It's a reference that you can find using a search engine, and it's called the Carroll Foundation Trust. CARROLL, the Carroll Foundation Trust, and it's the involvement of our Right Honourable David Cameron, his late father Ian Donald Cameron, Lord Norman Lamont, which is currently under a press lockdown investigation conducted by the FBI and the City of London Police. And that investigation is to do with the asset stripping of the empire of one Gerald Carroll and the involvement of a company called Blairmore Holdings, which is a family account of David Cameron and his late father, which has been run by directors of Panmure Gordon and Pincent Masons. And apparently, reading the articles, that Carroll Foundation Trust, that they used a company called the City of London Angels and its directors to asset strip Gerald Carroll's empire using fake share certificates and move those assets to Panamanian accounts under Blairmore Holdings, which is a family account set up for David Cameron and his family.
Well, you know who David Cameron's great-great-grandfather was?
Well, they're all related to the Queen, you know that, so the Blairs.
Ewan Cameron set up the HSBC.
Well, HSBC is part of the
drugs for the British East India Company.
That's right.
And he's still at it.
Yeah, still at it.
It goes down, and David Cameron's sons and grandsons will still be doing it.
Well,
I'm a bit fishy about I'd much prefer to do the Lothian Road disclosures, which is
it's not.
ongoing and rampant.
I would like John to know.
Oh yeah, he already does it.
Reference to David. He didn't know about the Carroll Foundation Trust.
No, I didn't. No.
There you are. If you don't know that and you don't read about it, you won't have any idea to how high in government this goes.
Yeah.
Because the Pincent Masons, which is mentioned, is also at One Park Row in Leeds, and my concerns were that's where my son lives, and they know what I know. Do you understand?
Yes.
That I have confronted these people, and many of those fake oil and gas and mining companies operate out of that same address, and they are controlled by Pincent Masons.
I can tell you now, I know an ex-Mason. He's 90 years old, Frederick. Lives just up the road. My other neighbour, she's 93, 94. She worked for the UN. So I get stuff that straight from the horse's mouth. Now, fortunately, not all Masons are bad Masons.
No, they're junior ones. And as they get up in line, so they are then brought in at a higher degree of corruption
that's it. Yeah.
to carry them through. And the more blackmail material they have on the junior members and the senior members, and so it goes on. It's just a matter of control, that's all it is.
Listen, JFK warned us about secret oaths and secret societies. And look what happened to it. Because it's secret oaths and secret societies.
But you'll spook the cops with that, you know, they know that if you're going to get a bullet in the head, this isn't going to be taken on. And that,
no. I think to keep it very simple, like we can talk about the alternative investment market, is just being used as a vehicle for a massive syndicate of corrupt politicians and fraudsters.
Tell them the stories about the RBS being primed to fund these things, and you know just how close the links are between the politicians and the laundering system that we have completely torn apart. But
I can tell you briefly, Royal Bank of Scotland, Lloyds and Barclays and Abbey National, they were all, through their major directors, incorporated people in the gilts and the oil investment sections of the banks. And what they did was, those people were then complicit, working with these virtual oil and gas and mining companies, to purchase worthless blocks of shares, which they then offered to their own clients within the banks. And what they were doing was, like RBS, in one tranche, they gave a debt facility of 100 million to Cairn Energy to go drilling off the Alaskan coast, which is a nature sanctuary. And it never happened. So they wrote off £100 million in one pen swipe.
Whose money is this, Gordon?
Public money. It's money in the banks.
Our money.
That's right.
It's our money.
And then the Bank of England have to print more to cover that toxic debt, which is then passed on to us as a devaluation of our pound.
I tell you why I get angry. Because even in the 50s, we were a working class family of parents. But even in the 50s, we never went to school on an empty stomach.
No.
Today, you've got families that have to go to these breakfast clubs so they can have a meal before they go to school, because the parents can't afford to put breakfast on the table. And these scumbags have been robbing us blind for the last 40 years.
Do you know, John, that there are 5 companies, sorry, there are 4 now because one went tits up, operating off the Falklands, said to be operating. There is no drilling, there is no search for oil, it's all fictitious. But those companies, one was called Desire Petroleum, the other one was Falkland Oil and Gas, Border and Southern, Rockhopper Resources and Argus Resources. Those companies are all interconnected by virtue of common directors, and those companies have a debt facility of over £1 billion, which they will asset or cash bleed over a period of time, devalue their own share values to their individual private investors, and then eventually they will just close down because the oil that they claim that they have found is non-viable commercial. Do you understand?
But £1 billion is a chicken feed figure, isn't it?
It's chicken feed. Because what they do is they raise capital all over the world, and that's what they do. They don't drill or look for oil. They go on money-raising tours all over the world. That's what they do.
Yes. Can I just say something, because I could be getting a phone call any second.
Okay.
I just thought of an idea. If these two chaps refuse to come in this conversation, number one, as far as I'm concerned, they're part of the problem. But number two, when they're here talking to me, if they don't want to come online, there's no reason that I can't leave this switched on, and everything that's going to be discussed could be recorded.
Yeah, if you're doing it in your own home, I can't see any harm in that. But then we would not be allowed to participate.
The laws are, John, that you must have somebody within, with you, of 2 or 3 parties must understand that you are covertly taping a conversation. Do you understand that? The other person not know. You can have somebody in there that you tell, I am going to take this, I'm going to video it.
Tell them that it's not a tape. We're presenting evidence through the experts in distant places, and this is the only way that we can get it to law.
No, but what I'm saying is, if I accidentally leave my Skype on...
No, don't do anything deceitful, otherwise...
They'll be knocking on your door with a set of bracelets.
Well, this is how I find out things. I'm just throwing out ideas.
Yeah.
But just tell them that the experts are on the other end of your Skype link,
yeah.
And we're in a position to give them things that can be minuted for the cases that you want to bring forward. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But if you leave it on and you ask them if they're prepared to do that, it's the only way we can present the evidence objectively. But if they refuse, we'll have it on film because you've just left your Skype camera on.
Exactly.
And we can tape the conversation when they ring you on the phone, just as an incidental event. And just because we were participating in Skype communication.
Of course, it happens, doesn't it? It's just.
But you don't have a speakerphone, perchance.
No.
I'm working on a set of headphones. I mean, if you want me to put the video facility on, I will do.
It will be more impressive if you do that. Because I've got you standing in uniform with all your colleagues.
Oh, thanks, sir.
But listen, let's just say this. I can't do anything now till I get this phone call. It's going to be this afternoon. Now, if you're both in all day and you're not going out, I can contact you straight back as soon as I've spoken to them, and I can then say, well,
it would be better if we got the footage of your offer to do it this way. Like if you could leave the webcam on. I haven't got enough tape to keep recording infinitely.
That's what I mean. I mean, they could call me up in 2 hours or 3 hours. I honestly don't.
And the very fact that we've done, you realise John, do you realise that we're always under surveillance? Everything we do is monitored.
Do you know?
I know this.
Do you know who owns Skype Limited? Well, I don't want to go down that road, but
tell me, I've never heard this before.
I'm keeping that to myself at the moment.
The sun's gone and it must be horrendous. What are you going to tell us?
It's horrendous. Look at it. It's on. You can find it in Company's House.
Oh no.
And then you start digging a bit further because they have all channels covered, my friend.
Well, okay, but you see, I look at it this way. There's only a tiny bunch of these scumbags.
Oh, there's a lot.
People that are helping us. I know I'm getting help because I've posted stuff on Facebook that should have got me arrested years ago. I know I'm being helped. So we are getting help. We're getting help. There's no question.
Yeah.
So
you mean in a spiritual sense there?
It's spiritual, metaphysical, but I tell you something now, I've done something I'm not even going to go into it. I prayed, but I didn't pray in the religious sense. But what happened to me the next day completely and utterly blew my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get a lot of those things as well. I think I'll have empathy with what you're saying there. But this needs to be like business-like and focused.
John, what is your background in life skills?
I basically started off as a sort of technician. I got into the slot machines, jukeboxes. I ended up on cruise ships.
So you know the mechanisms of slot machines. Well, my true love here, her son was a slots manager in South Africa, working for Sun International.
But I worked in South Africa on the Lowland Lancer, which was an old landing craft which got bombed in the Falklands War.
On the what? On the Sir Galahad?
During the Falklands War.
Yeah, my car came back from Cyprus on that.
What, on the Lowland Lancer?
No, on the Sir Galahad.
Oh, okay. Well, they converted it into a floating casino, and I was working on that for a bit. But I was at sea for 20 years. Fortunately, I've had no TV all my life, so I've never been brainwashed or programmed. I don't go anywhere near a television. Television.
Yeah.
It's all ever invented.
Yeah, but the internet access as a search engine has opened up a treasure trove of information where you can instantly click on a site and gain information that was inaccessible to us morons many years ago.
The only problem, Gordon, most people don't understand or don't know where to search and where to look without Jones or some other diversion.
Yeah.
You know, so it's only people like us that dig deep and
that look beyond the facade of what they present in a beautiful video. Yeah.
Trying to wake up I've lost friends over this. I've got 2 cousins that have disowned me because they think I've gone mad.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, well, I said you open yourself up when you're trying to